Hi, everyone. Today, we are excited to host Kristin Taylor. She is the innovative CEO and co founder of KD Winery. Her and her business partner are currently transforming the wine culture across the United States. They're not only serving or making products that are more sustainable for the environment, but they're also trying to foster a community that's vibrant through their offerings. Kristen has had a long and a wonderful career across strategic marketing with tailored firms and also like spearheading key accounts with Spear Marketing Group. She's left her imprint across many disciplines within marketing. And today, what we wanted to do was unpack her journey, get get key insights from her about the digital age, and also try to
Mhm.
understand like how branding is changing and evolving. So, without further ado, I'd like to welcome Kristen Taylor to Impressions and Chai.
Hi. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to chat. I know we said in our first conversation, but I love brand and marketing. It's like my big nerd, energy. So I'm excited.
Awesome. So, to kick this conversation off, right, and given your background and just listening to you talk, even on the previous occasion,
Yeah.
what I'd like to know from you is that how do you define a successful brand strategy, given the
Mhm.
fact that you've worked in many firms, now you've launched your own company with KD Winery. So, I'd like to know, like, how would you define a successful brand strategy?
Yeah. I mean, I think for me, successful brand strategy is a brand that people can actually see themselves in. And with that said, being your target customer, right? And it goes to how you create your strategy. I think a lot of people start with where they want to be and who they think their customer is. Then they go out into the world, they finally get, customers, they get clients, and they realize that they may not be talking to the right people. Then or they need to shift their strategy because this other group of consumers seeks them out or needs this more. And I find that the best brands kind of do a testing phase. They almost do a beta of their brand, really confirm that that's what it is. And then they realize that they can just continue to serve once they've tweaked it to match who your actual customers are. So to me, successful brand strategy is brand that drives consumers to feel like they have to engage with them because they feel so seen, or they feel like that company is going to fill that need that they've been trying to figure out what it was or how to define it or what they need. So, yeah, successful
So,
brand.
just to dive a bit deeper, right? Like,
Hmm.
could you provide like an example of what you would think would be an effective brand strategy and that's been implemented? Now, this
Mm.
could be a brand that all of us in like day to day lives have seen or used, or it might be like super niche. Would love to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, one of my favorite brands that was very helpful in showing how consumer brands have been built recently is Béis. Béis Luggage. Shay Mitchell, she was an actress, then became an influencer, and then all of a sudden she came out with a luggage company. This is maybe like a couple years after Away, but this product doesn't really even, to me, it's completely different target audience. And
Got
she
it.
really went after honestly the millennial woman who likes a more elegant look and feel but needs functionality, who travels a lot, right? And what she did is she built that off of her core competency of her traveling and what she wishes was there. And so as she's examining, like, explaining the brand and showing how she made this brand, she's hitting these key points, these key talking points. These are the things that we've complained about for years, and she doesn't stray. So when she first started this brand, she came up with one luggage set. They did one thing. It got you all the way through, right? It's clean, you can wipe it off. There's technology options. It's easy to store your keys, great for your backpack. What she did is she hit the consumer, and then she went after her core audience base by creating marketing that would make sense to them, right? So more storytelling, less, just cute TikTok videos, and really went after like explaining what the experience would be because she was marketing to millennials. And millennials, what did we grow up on? MTV, music videos, storytelling, right? And so she leaned into that, and all of a sudden we were all like, oh, I feel like I think we're really familiar with this. I don't know why, but I like this brand. And because she hit the nostalgic points of how we've been communicated to. So now, of course, the brand has developed, and there's so many other products and SKUs. And now I think she's doing things for kids and babies and making traveling easier for parents. So I think what she figured out was her core competencies and how it works into the business. So the storytelling was very seamless. I think that is one brand that truly figured out what their archetype was, who their customers are, and they just kill it.
Got it. So
Yeah.
keeping that logic in mind, right, or keeping what you basically mentioned, what are some of the common mistakes that you have seen, especially with businesses, or even like your personal experience with
Yeah.
Katie Winery too? Like, what are some of the mistakes that you have seen that companies have made while developing their brand, and what they should be doing to avoid it?
Yeah, I mean, we made the mistake in our most popular brand, our biggest flagship brand is called Mom Juice, right? And it's such a fun name, but it's so hard when we first started because we got so much either applause or backlash, depending on who you were talking to, right? About the name being too polarizing or influencing moms to drink or, you know, really not talking to the moms that are more like I call them the Midwestern moms, but I know that's not exactly right, but the moms who are more chill or whatnot. Um, and mind you, I come from a pretty religious background. Um, I'm much more chill nowadays, but I was like, oh, well, I mean, I understand what you're talking about, but at the same time, it's not for you, right? And so I think the problem, and we had this problem, we had to have a few like come to Jesus, gather ye round moments as a team and say, no, we just have to do this thing fully and totally full out. And we can't compromise our brand voice or how we want to speak to our customers because that's who we are. And we were so scared at first of being too polarizing. And I think what I've learned, and I think Liquid Death is a perfect example of this as well. I was just talking to Hamid the other day. Um, really just going there, whatever your brand voice is, stop. Don't pull back because you're nervous it won't serve everyone. If you serve everyone, you're not serving anyone. That's the reality. No one is truly connecting with your brand. And if you're afraid and you're timid, it's going to come out in your copy. It's going to come out in your creative, and no one's going to really buy what you're selling. There's not going to be a community there that you're building. So the mistake is just not going for it. And whether that means you're like the sweet brand, sweet cupcake brand, go into that, right? Or if you're like badass and you're liquid death, go into that. Like you have to lean in. I think that's the key to making your brand stand out and stay memorable.
So to that point, right? I
Yeah.
know that this might be a little more selfish. I would like to know your point of view for like a B2B brand like
Mm-hmm.
us. So we are on the B2B side of things. I would like to get your piece of advice for B2B brands out there. Like us, there are many tech products out there. So what
Mm-hmm.
would you tell them to improve how to improve the share of voice, because invariably B2B products focus on the tech side of it. They completely forget how to improve the share of voice and their branding aspect.
Yeah. I think, and this is more so from working at B2B agencies for the last few years, right? I think one thing there's always a problem with B2B is explaining the experience and explaining why you've crafted this experience to be this way. If you're selling a SaaS platform or a B2B experience or a customer experience, tell me what I'm going to get and why with you it's going to feel better. Tell me how you're going to meet that need, right? One of my favorite things I saw the other day was the non-agency agency. And it's like, if you hate agencies, we do too. We fill that bucket, right? And I was like, you know what? I do hate agency sometimes. I say as an agency girly, but I'm like, yeah, I guess I don't really want that right now. I want someone who's like going to be creative and bill me on what and they explain that. They don't bill by the hour, they bill by project. And it kind of hit my talking points while I got to learn their personality as a company. And I think that's where B2B misses. It's just, there's so many services. And the only way to distinguish yourself to me is by showing why my experience with you is going to be better. It's not even price driven most of the time. Most people don't make decisions off of price. They make decisions based off experience, what they think you can provide, how consistently you say you're going to show up, and then also what that experience is like as they go through the process of onboarding with you and signing a contract. Is it frictionless or is it full of friction, right? Like if you can give me that up front, you will take care of 90% of my objections before we even get to the first meeting. So yeah, I
That's
think you got it's journey.
that's awesome. I mean, that's exactly like what I was looking for in terms
Yeah.
of a word of advice. Because again, as I mentioned, invariably like B2B companies miss out on the telltale signs. So I
What about
appreciate
you
you.
guys? Yeah, like how do you feel like you stand out the best? I always love to ask that question. I know it's an
Yeah,
interview about me, but I'm gonna put you on the spot too.
no, for sure. I think the biggest method in which we try to advocate what we build out is by using the method of KISS, just keeping it simple and stupid.
Yeah,
Um, and then every product, any product that you think of, especially if it's a tech product, people try to make it sound really complex. And we are really trying to adopt this principle of KISS all over the place with
hmm,
whatever we do. And by doing so, we're able to simplify what we're trying to offer to brands, to ad agencies, to like marketers and influencers too.
yeah,
So that makes our journey and our life as a company far more easier, to say the least.
yeah. I mean, I love that, right? Like you've seen the website, so I'm like, wow, you use so many words to say one thing, and I
Yeah,
feel like I wasted my time, and I also don't know if you know what you're doing, right? There's something about the beauty of simplicity and
yeah,
how much
completely
easier it
agree.
is. Hmm. Yeah,
Really
I love that.
true. So to that point, right? Like since we spoke about millennials and like keeping messaging simple,
Hmm.
the question that comes up to my mind is like, with the digital age and social media being in the forefront, how do
Yeah.
you think brand strategies have like transformed, given that new platforms are also coming out? And what are some of the challenges and opportunities that you've seen that has risen up through this journey?
So I love TikTok in general. I think I've personally learned so many random things that I did not know, like how to drain my washing machine. Like that was weird, but amazing, right? There's this platform and there's all this learning and all this education. And I feel like we've had this problem with our brand too. We had to make a decision. Are we educational or are we entertaining? Right. And I think, unfortunately, the entertaining TikToks and reels seem to hit better sometimes. So I see brands just doing a lot. Like, I'm not sure what that has to do with you selling spoons, but yeah, that dance was cool. I like sometimes I think there's too much opportunity and it creates so much dissonance in the brand, right? Like now you have things going a left, right, center, and I'm not sure what you're selling or why you're selling it to me. I also think another thing that's been talked about more and more, I think I've seen over the last few weeks, especially after we went through Mental Health Awareness Month, is entrepreneurs feeling like they must become an influencer to help sell. It's literally a job being an influencer, right? And your business is also your job plus plus, right? So
Yeah.
the fact that you're trying to now create another career to support the first career with content creation, which let's be honest, most entrepreneurs do not know what they're doing. So I'm sure it takes them 15 times longer. I know it takes me that much time if I'm trying to create something brand new, right? And then you're spilling all your creativity on TikTok and not spending on your business, right? Like there's all these things I think that distract us from what we feel like we have to do. And I think if we, and we've done this on our end, is we've just trimmed it down. These are the three things we do. We're going to do them really, really well. Once we have them down, maybe we add the fourth thing. But until all three are locked and loaded and running on a automated feeling like experience, we're not adding that fourth back in. I'm not becoming a TikTok influencer anytime soon. It's just not a good use of my time because I don't know what I'm doing. And I think in business you have to know how to outsource, how not to get distracted, and how to lean it out. So
Yeah, that's
yeah.
actually a fascinating point. If I may, what are the three
Yeah.
points you guys are focused on right now and that you guys are working on?
Yeah. Email. We have this great list, great people in nurture sequences. It's been a big thing for us. We got to fix that. We got to keep nurturing because so much revenue comes from email, as you know. Um, Two for us is more, we're humor driven as a company. So we keep it fun, we keep it funny. Moms need a laugh. So we go through that angle on our social. We do it on Instagram and TikTok. That's it. And then three for me is documenting the journey. So on LinkedIn and Twitter, I personally document the journey of what it's like to build this company, to build more advocates. It's wine is a very B2B driven business. We sell to consumers, but honestly, 90% of our revenue comes from selling to stores. So really, it's more so about building a B2B audience and keeping the B2C audience engaged. So those are the three things we're focused on. Those are the three ways we market and we tell our story right now. And once we kick ass at that, then we can add another. But as for now,
So I have a question, like actually based on that, because you mentioned LinkedIn and you mentioned like other different platforms, and I do
hmm
know that the messaging and the consistency of messaging changes. So, how do you ensure that the brand essentially is maintaining its broad-based messaging across these different platforms? Because again, on LinkedIn and Instagram, for instance, if you compare,
yeah.
if you do like an A/B comparison, it's two distinct audiences. So how do
hmm
you ensure that like there's no dissonance between the two?
So it's very rare that in the same day I write a LinkedIn update, I'll write a Instagram update, if that makes sense. Like my brain is in different spaces and I understand who I'm talking to both times. Um, and also, we have a very defined voice on Instagram. We know we are the best friend. We're the girl you kick it with a glass of wine. On LinkedIn, we are very, this is business. We are go-getters. We get things done, and like our tone of voice and what we're sharing is also completely different. I'll share milestones about like getting a new warehouse on LinkedIn. And on Instagram, I'm sharing about how our new Sauvignon Blanc is launching. It's so crisp and yummy and refreshing. So I think also it's subject matter that helps deviate a lot. Also on Instagram, it goes through two people. So before it goes out, it goes through me and my assistant Lauren, or it goes through me and Macy. So there's a double check to be like, that's not funny. Why'd you put that out there? That's not funny. Whereas LinkedIn, it will be just me. So like I can be more serious, which is my natural tone of voice, unfortunately. I'm just like not that funny.
So, what is the measure of success though? Because
Yeah.
you mentioned, like, especially with keeping the two tone aspect in mind, how do you measure success? It sounds silly, but is it the likes? Is it the number of
Mm.
shares? Or is it the number of impressions? Or is it the number of reach?
I'll be honest, I think we get very obsessed with the number of likes and reach and impression and all of that. The way I see it is if I'm looking at this extended reach or all these likes or a uptick in traffic on my website, that's what I'm looking at. Like, what was the result of what we did that actually left that platform and went to somewhere we sell, right? Especially as an alcohol brand, we can't sell on Instagram, we can't sell on Facebook. So we have to get them off the platform onto a website. So I'm looking at result driven metrics versus like vanity metrics because I think I, as someone who uses Instagram, I forget to like most of the things I think are great. So it's not really a good valuation to me of your content. I think engaging is great. I think if someone drops comments and they spend time to drop some comments, I'm like, okay, that content created a reaction. So let's work on creating more of that. Um, yeah, for us, metrics is website views, sales in store. Did
Got
the
it.
people show up after we told them about a thing?
And
Granted, we're not massive though. We don't have 800,000 followers. So it's easy for us to look at metrics and be like, yeah, people hated that, you know?
got it. So, um, actually, to that point, right? Given your audience size and given that people are interested in KD Winery, what is it in the past, like let's say a few days, few months, or even past weeks that you've seen that has been the most engaging in terms of
Mm,
posts or even in terms of like in terms of online content?
yeah. Well, my co-founder Macy just gave birth to a beautiful little girl. Hi, Lyle.
Awesome.
And obviously, Mom Juice being our biggest brand, it goes right along. So anything with Lyle does well. I think babies and dogs are like your two big thumbs up within the content world. You really can't go wrong with those two. So that's been really great. But we've also been sharing about our fundraising journey and what that experience has been like. And I think, especially as entrepreneur, entrepreneurs have become so popular. And by that, I mean like people just starting their own businesses and getting an entrepreneurial spirit about them or side hustle. I think there's been a big uptick in how it works behind the scenes. So we've seen that be very helpful for not just likes and views, but mostly engagement, right? Like it may not be on the post, but we'll get DMs like, oh my God, I didn't know you guys are doing this. How does that work? How do you find investors? How do you find a valuation? Is everything like Shark Tank, right? Like a lot of those questions happen. So I think for us behind the scenes and Baby Lyle. So have been our
Got it.
two big things. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I completely understand the and empathize with you about the journey of fundraising.
Mm-hmm.
It's not fun.
Mm-mm. It sure isn't, and it's extremely hard. So also
Yeah,
yet another job, right?
it is completely that I
Yeah.
do completely second. It's a never-ending job to say the least.
Mm-hmm. It literally,
So
it's like a hamster wheel.
to round up this conversation, right? It's been awesome having you on board, especially on
Yeah.
this podcast. I would like to round up this conversation by asking you one final question, which is
Okay.
can you discuss the role of storytelling in brand
Mhm.
strategy and any tips that any business that's listening to this that could pick up and implement that in their brand narrative?
Yeah. Brand storytelling is hard. It's really hard. I think the leanest way I would say to create your brand story and find out, how you're going to express yourself and what your pitch is and why people connect to you is write out what you think it is. Ask for people what they would say it is. Figure out what your customer talking points are. Trim, trim, keep trimming, keep trimming. Then we put it through a copywriter. We're like, these are the things we care about. This is what we're trying to say. Tell me what you heard in this brand story. And so we got that back and it was like, cool, that's not what I meant at all. So then we had to go through refining and making sure we knew what words were evoking what type of emotion. I think that was probably the best use of money we spent on any branding exercise was this is what we want to say, this is what we're trying to say. And please help us. So yeah, storytelling is massive. I felt like we got our story really muggy when we first launched, and now it's much more refined, and we're still trying to get it shorter literally every day. I'm like, we can just trim off 10 words. It will fit much better on everything. But yeah, storytelling is everything. PR articles you see about people, they get written up in Forbes. Those people are making it because they know how to tell their story at the end of the day. And if you don't know how to tell your story, no one can tell your story for you. So you got to figure that out first before you want press coverage and influencers and all these people to really help advocate for you, especially in the B2B world, right? Because you think of people like Forrester, right? Forrester is not going to write about you or talk about you in a conference or send a representative to be a part of your consulting or anything like that unless they can tell your story and tell exactly what you saw, why you went into it, right? Like I think of B2B influencers as the people who run agencies like John Common, my old boss from Intelligent Demand, huge for account based marketing. ABM is his jam, right? And John loves to talk to people, but if he can't tell your story, he's not going to say anything about you because he doesn't know how to talk about you. So all I'd say is storytelling is like to me the number one. You can have the worst website in the world, but if your story makes sense, you tell me the journey I'll have in experiencing you, I'll sign the contract. Most people will.
Got it.
Yeah.
That's an awesome message to leave the audience with.
Mhm.
Appreciate you for coming on board. This has been
Yeah.
awesome. I cannot believe like the past 25 to 30 minutes has gone by so fast. This has been awesome. Thank you once
Same.
again.
Thank you for the thoughtful questions. And like I said, this is my jam. So it was so fun. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks once again.
Okay.